have to take you up on that after.
Mine is now playing up.
That you can find live.
Thank you, Clerk. Okay, members, to Fáilte Rómh a Lig, you're all very welcome this morning to the 54th meeting of the Committee for Communities. Can I remind anyone in the public gallery that mobile phones must be turned off? Mobile tablet devices can, however, be used through a Wi-Fi connection, and all devices should be muted. Password details are available in the gallery for anyone wanting to connect to the Assembly's Wi-Fi network, and no recordings or photographs may be taken. Can I also remind members about the protocols regarding the use of electronic devices? Please switch all mobile devices to airplane mode and activate Wi-Fi connection. Please also use tablet devices discreetly in a way which doesn't interfere with proceedings, and be aware of the cameras and sensitivity of microphones throughout the course of the meeting. Thank you. So members, we're moving to agenda item 1, which is declaration of interests. So I would remind members of your responsibility to declare any interest in any of the items under discussion today. Does any member have any interest to declare in relation to today's agenda items? We'll have Andy and then Kelly.
Charity Trustee, Chair, Private Sector Landlord and Trade Union Member.
Thank you, Andy. Kelly?
Member of the Deaf Committee, just given some of our correspondence.
Yeah. I also am a member of a charity. Melissa?
And I also am the chairperson for charity and a pensioner.
Okay, Melissa. I'm glad you told us that.
Director of a charity.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, members, thank you. So moving on then to agenda item 2, apologies. Are we aware of any apologies, Clerk?
Morris Bradley.
Yeah. And otherwise we're everyone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, members, agenda item 3, Chairperson's business. So first of all, I'd like to welcome you all back after what I hope was a good summer break for you all. I hope everybody got a bit of a rest of some sort, because I know we're into a very full-on session as far as this committee is concerned in the time ahead. I would also like to welcome our new committee colleague, Mark Durkin, to the committee, and wish you well in what I know would be a very busy time for this committee. I would also like to place on record our thanks to Daniel McCrossan for his hard work on the committee, and if members are agreed, I would like to write formally to Daniel to that effect. Yep, thank you. Okay, so member, moving on then just to some events over the summer. I attended the Cricket Connects camp, and I know some of the other members maybe did, at Stormont here, and spoke about the power of sport to bring people together, and about the importance of supporting opportunities for young people from all traditions and backgrounds. I would like to congratulate Cricket NA for hosting such a great event, and for their promotion of the game as a good pastime. It was well attended, positive event, and as you'll see from correspondence items, I have been invited to a further event in Malahide, which I'm happy to attend as chairperson. I have to say it was really good to see the way children were kind of rotating around each other's sports. Very, very empowering. There was one picture I took of it where there was a crowd of hurls lying on the ground along with a crowd of cricket bats, with it all just abandoned them and went off to whatever else they're doing. It was a very poignant image, I thought, and a nice image. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say, Chair, I'm delighted that took place. As you know, there were some issues within my own constituency about a cricket event not being allowed to take place. Just to note the Minister's encouragement in correspondence later about these types of inclusive events, and to welcome that approach, and hope the Minister will be helping to fund more of those in the future.
Yep, thank you. Melissa?
I'd also just like to express my disappointment at the cancellation of the event initially, and that type of inward-looking, narrow-minded mindset that created the opportunity for, or not the opportunity, but created the situation whereby it had to be cancelled. It has to be condemned entirely.
Okay, so moving on then, members, I also want to congratulate the organisers of the Open Golf tournament in Portrush. A really great event. I think it showcased what we can do. It was well organised, well run, well attended, and a huge success, and look forward to us being able to attract more of those significant events. I think we're well able to host those, and I congratulate everyone concerned with making that happen. Only thing was we didn't get an Irish winner out of it, but hopefully the next time round we'll get it soon, and we'll get that over the line as well. So staying then on a sporting theme, but regrettably not on such a positive note, members will be aware but only through media and social media posts, and indeed from a very late email last night, that there is a major announcement taking place today at 11 a.m. during this meeting in relation to the NI Football Fund. I have to, members, voice my growing concern at the absence of timely and candid communication in relation to this long-awaited fund in particular, and also in other instances that we have noted. Not only has the Minister not had the courtesy to inform us as the Scrutiny Committee, but the event is taking place during our own meeting time, denying the committee members the opportunity to attend. I did raise the issue in the House on Tuesday of major announcements being made in the media rather than when the House is sitting, and the Speaker did agree with me that this should not be happening. So can I propose that we as a committee formally write to the Speaker and to the Minister to voice our disappointment and concern that the committee is being bypassed when it comes to major announcements, and to ask the Speaker and the Minister to take action to address this? Nicola?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I agree with that there. And to be honest, I agree with you that I think it's been pretty poor form and it's been handled pretty poorly. First of all, we got sight of this through the media back on the 17th of August. I'd actually written to the Minister after that, asking some more questions about it, about the details over it, because other clubs had been concerned about what was actually happening. Some had been contacted, according to the newspaper article, and asked for emblems, so that would suggest that they knew that they were going to get some kind of funding. So these questions were being raised, and I did write to the Minister, and I'm still waiting for a response from that. So it's disappointing that we haven't been shown the courtesy as members of the committee and of the Assembly to get those answers before there's actual public announcement, So yes, I agree with you.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, given the high level of interest in this funding, I can understand entirely that the information can't be released before it is formally announced. The large number of clubs that have applied, and there will be some disappointment, but I know the Minister is hopeful that he can address those needs further down the line. So I wouldn't align myself with the view that we should have been informed of the amounts in advance, if that's what is being suggested. The scandal about this funding is that the long years that it was delayed politically, over 10 years. This funding should have been released long ago. So that is the scandal, that it took a DUP minister to get this funding out the door, and I commend Gordon Lyons for achieving that, despite it being held up politically for far too long. So I'm not going to align myself with any criticism of him in getting this funding out, so I will not support any such proposal.
Noted. Brian, Kelly, were you looking in on that?
Just to say that I think as a scrutiny committee, we'll go back to the process and take the policies out of this. There is a requirement for ministers to make statements in the House and to provide and update committees with information. I think it would be right and proper to write to the Speaker and to the Minister just to let them know that there are concerns on that level. This is a growing issue, and I have to say I'm chair of the Committee on Procedures that looks after standing orders. It's not just our minister, but there are other ministers who are at it as well. RHI, recommendation 38, said that scrutiny committees should be working more to scrutinise what's happening within departments. Not giving us the ability to scrutinise is actually flying in the face of that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
I'd also be supportive of the proposal, Chair, and I think it was appropriate that you raised it on the floor of the Assembly the other day, and the Speaker thought you were right to do so as well. So normally we're in a situation where the first we hear of something is in the media, where the announcement is made and it's out, and you might hear it in the radio on your way to here, but on this occasion, it's almost been flaunted that I'm going to announce this, and I'm not coming to the Assembly to do so. So I think it's even worse.
Yeah, deeply discourteous, and worse than that, very unprofessional. And it has been trailed for a number of days, and the committee got an email last night at nearly close of business. So thank you, members, for your agreement. And Andy, sorry, go ahead.
Chair, no, I would just echo comments of other colleagues of our disappointment. Instead of us talking about the positives of this announcement here today, which it is a positive step, and despite the delays by successive ministers, but as the Speaker has alluded to in the House, there is a protocol and procedure, and Kelly has outlined that as well, and ministers should stick to that and adhere to it and engage with colleagues and rightly then obviously make their public announcements when they have gone through the proper process. It's not about us denying ministers the ability to do that. It's about giving this place in the scrutiny role its proper role in place.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, members. So moving on then, members, we also agreed then as a committee last session to revisit the committee's strategic planning priorities at a suitable meeting when each parliamentary session resumes. So I'm hoping that in this instance this could take place in the next couple of months and before the Halloween recess. And I think to inform that session, we should formally request a definitive list of primary and delegated legislation expected from the department. It's clear that a volume of legislation for scrutiny may well impact on what the committee will be able to do for the remainder of the mandate. So planning and preparation, I think, are going to be key. Yep. So Kelly.
Just when we're writing on that, we changed standing orders in June, just before we closed up for the recess, that stated that the Executive Office has to bring forward a list of all of the Executive's planned legislation for this year, the 25-26 period, within 4 weeks of the end of recess, or come to the House to explain why they're having a delay in that. So we can follow that up with the new standing order and say that it's already being prepared for that, so it should be easy enough to provide for us.
Okay, thank you. So our members agreed then that we ask for this in writing ASAP in order to inform our planning session. Yep. Thank you, members. Agenda item 4 then, members, are the draft minutes, which are contained at page 7 of your pack there. Are members content to agree the minutes of the 3rd of July as drafted? Agreed. Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item 5, matters arising. So you've been provided there, members, with a summary table of matters arising at page 23. There are a large number of items and I propose to run through these in blocks for review and comment. So I'll move to the first block to ask if members have any comments or issues they want to raise or throw out, highlight or seek briefings on in relation to items 5.2 to 5.7. Go ahead, Sian.
Yeah, so the first one there is just 5.2, the AERC, the response to the community and voluntary sector stakeholders list. It was just, I suppose really for me, it's how did the department determine what organisations were included and shared with the AERC, where is the complete list, and I suppose that what assurances will the Minister be able to give that smaller grassroots and non-funded voluntary and community organisations are adequately represented in this process, that it isn't just those larger organisations that are already known and already funded by the department.
Yeah, so members be contented we seek that clarification. Thank you.
I have another one, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Sian. Go ahead, certainly.
5.5, the social inclusion strategies timetable. I think it's well versed at this point, the concerns that we have over the social inclusion strategies, but I think we're now seeing the outworkings of some of our fears whenever these were separated and looked at in isolation and in silos. That staggered approach over progressing all 4 social inclusion strategies. I think now we're seeing that losing focus and those intersecting issues. There is a real intersection, particularly between poverty, the gender equality strategy, all of that, and I think that we've lost a bit of that momentum. Had all 4 been taken together, we could have seen the overlaps and actually looked at them in a holistic way, because there are many factors that cross cut. So I suppose it's just really, when can we expect a clear and published timetable for the sexual orientation and the gender equality strategy? Still all very vague. And how will the department ensure that meaningful consultation on all 4 strategies within this mandate? Because we are getting dangerously close to particularly those 2 falling off.
Yeah, thank you, Sian. Kelly?
It was just to come in on that same point on 5.5, Chair. we had it verbally, but we haven't had it confirmed in writing, and I would really like to get it in writing. Because these strategies have not been taken forward and we're about to go into a multi-year budget, my concern is that then the appropriate allocation for funding for these strategies and their actions moving forward will basically forego for the next 3 years. So can we get it in writing? Because there was a comment by one of the officers that they were in consideration and there was money being considered for them, but we haven't got anything in writing on that. If we could just ask as a scrutiny committee, given the fact that these strategies have not been progressed as yet, what considerations are being made for them in the departmental budget lines for the multi-year strategies, or the multi-year budget, sorry.
Budget. Members content with both of those
Letters?
letters?
Yeah. The first one is seeking a clear timetable for publication and how the department intends to involve the groups, and the second one is seeking an update in writing in terms of what budget is being applied for across the multi-year cycle in relation to those strategies.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And was there another item, Kelly?
Brian,
Brian indicated. Brian, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just on 5.2 on that about the voluntary community sector group database. I mean, my reading of the letter from the DALO is that the department links with a number of membership organisations and they would then forward on to their wider membership database, which I think is understandable, rather than expecting the database to know every single group in every part of Northern Ireland. So that's my understanding of how that is set up, because groups are formed and dissolved, all the time. So I think that is a reasonable approach, rather than complaining about every single small group is not on a departmental list. In terms of 5.3, I want to welcome the letter received back from the Finance Minister that further to my request at the last one of our recent committee meetings had asked for an update on the Invest to Save initiative, where an element of fraud and error savings can be retained for the Northern Ireland Block Grant. So the Finance Minister has confirmed that he wrote to the Chief Secretary to the Treasury in April, and on the 2nd of July, Treasury confirmed that as a result of his request, that the Chief Secretary to the Treasury has agreed that the Executive can submit a business case ahead of the autumn budget, and if savings are certified by the OBR, Office for Budget Responsibility, Treasury will consider providing the Executive with a share of savings, and Finance Minister is engaging with the Department for Community Officials on this matter to progress this work, and he does not intend to miss the opportunity to make a strong case to Treasury in this regard. So it's something obviously we will want to keep an involvement in and see that opportunity to retain those savings for the block grant can be realised. And a note the correspondence too from the Minister about the Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill on 6.9, which we'll come to later. And I think in this section too, just to comment 5.4, the response from Belfast City Council on planning application processing times. That response was outstanding the last time, so I'm pleased to see it has come in. And in fairness, they're claiming that they do meet the targets. So obviously, previously as a councillor and even now, I would get complaints about the times taken for planning applications. But anyway, welcome that the response has been provided and that they say they're making targets and are constantly working to reduce the times.
Thanks, Brian. Kelly?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, can I take us back to just that comment on 5.2, just to maybe a different slant on what Brian has said. As you know, prior to becoming an MLA, I worked in transport and community transport. who were left out. So there are organisations that are not within communities, and indeed they didn't get any of the monies of the infrastructure programme, and that goes for mental health charities, charities that help women and different groups that are funded through health but not communities. So I'm be quite keen, and this leads on to let me make sure I've got it right, 5.6 and 5.7 when we talk about the Northern Ireland Community Infrastructure Fund. I appreciate that we've been told that information will be made available ahead of the fund's launch, which is currently scheduled for autumn 2025. We are in autumn 2025, so if we could just find out what's happening with that, if we can even get embargoed information, it's just, I wouldn't mind before that fund goes any further, if the committee can have a scrutiny to ensure that it will actually be open and available to who and what infrastructure availability there will be. Just on 5.3, let me just get back to it here, sorry. Regarding the Invest to Save, we as a committee know that the department are under extreme pressure when it comes to the budget. Any money that comes back, it would be interesting to get the department's consideration on what they're going to apply for in the business case for it. We know that there needs to be a huge amount of money spent to replace the Shared Prosperity Fund, and we have a problem with the number of people with disabilities who are not able to access employment. So there are many areas that this could be spent on. I'm very concerned that the business case would just be to spend it on more identification of fraud, and it becomes an income generation as opposed to using it for the things that aren't hypothecated for Northern Ireland and we need to concentrate on.
Yeah, I think that is certainly a concern. Okay, and even the reference to a share means very little, and that's very vague. But I think also just to make one comment around the idea of the database, I think the actual purpose of the database is to be comprehensive and should be updated certainly and kept accurate. But I think that is because the greater danger is that small groups get disadvantaged as a result of not being included on a database where they should be. But
Can I check the action then? Because the action under 5.2 was to ask the department how did the department determine which organisations were listed and how are smaller organisations' interests being represented? Is there something to be added into that with regard to the Shared Prosperity Fund link with the other item?
With that 5.7, given the fact that the Minister has referred in his letter to using umbrella bodies, although not all umbrella bodies are within communities. It's that infrastructure funding. Can we get a look at, even embargoed, absolutely appreciate that, just to see how open it is for funding from those other organisations. We also have to remember, Communities doesn't have any of the 167 charities. That's the national charities that have headquarters based in England, Scotland or Wales, not Northern Ireland. So they're not in there,
Okay, members content with that? Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. Then, members, if I could then ask if members have any comments or issues you wish to draw out, highlight or seek briefings for in relation to items 5.8 to 5.13. So that's in your pack there in the... Yep, Kelly, go ahead.
Yes, 5.9, please. Delighted to hear that the department will be updating the mapping relating to the fuel poverty strategy, and I see that research is due to be scheduled for completion in 26-27, but given the fact that the fuel poverty strategy consultation, I think, is closed now, and they'll be looking at what's going to be happening between now and that mapping exercise to determine where fuel poverty is. And then just to reiterate, 5.11 of what something, Chair, that you have said earlier about the legislation programme coming forward. In 5.11, the department must introduce regulations on certain circumstances. When are they coming? Because I know I wrote to the Minister and he gave quite a good answer back to me over the summer that it's coming, but there's no dates on this, and I've had in my constituency an incredible amount of people who have presented as homeless to the Housing Executive because they have been given such short notices to quit. So it'd be very useful if we could get some of that detail. Are you what number are you going up to now?
I'm up to 5.13, including
5.13.
5.1.
The only other one I have then is 5.13. Can we write to the UK government to ask how the views of people with disabilities in Northern Ireland will be consulted with, given the fact that they're doing their work on the bill, but we will probably replicate that afterwards, so our people here won't have any ability to to be consulted with. So how is the UK government making sure that Northern Ireland's difficulties are considered?
Yep, so are members content to write to seek
Can I
that
add in
information?
just a wee tiny bit to that?
Yeah.
One is just whether we can ask the Minister to commit to updating us on his conversations with the UK government around this and around the process of their review and the likely implications that we'll have here in Northern Ireland. It would be really good just to keep abreast of the departmental conversations that are being had there.
Yeah, thank you. And also just to go back to check that members are content that we write, what was the other one that you were seeking information on, Kelly?
When the regulations would be coming forward regarding the private tenancies.
Members content with that proposal? Yeah. I have Melissa first then, sorry, and I'll come back to you, Sean.
5.12 is in relation to the delay in the publication of the Irish language strategy. This is becoming like a game of ping pong, between we'll say the executive and the minister, as such that the committee have asked the Executive Office for information in relation to the delays of the publication of the Irish language strategy, and they have indicated the sole responsibility lies with the Minister of Communities. They're the department best placed to deal with it. So therefore I would suggest that we actually go back to the Minister again and we asked him for a clear statement as opposed to this sort of deflection that we continue to receive all the time.
Could I maybe suggest we hold, it's coming up in correspondence, also a related matter coming up in correspondence, and maybe we can do a more comprehensive agreement around the way forward. Just and I could ask you just to hold that till we come to that in correspondence, Melissa. Well, thank you for flagging. Sean, you're still on 5.8 to 5.13, are you?
Yes, I am. Yeah. So I'll add to whenever we come to it in correspondence. Then the other point I just wanted to make was around 5.10, 5.10, around the CREA. I am really surprised that the department have said that they've determined that a child's rights impact assessment was not necessary for the budget 24-25. I mean, to say that decisions in the budget don't impact children's rights when so much of what this department does has an impact, not least on child poverty levels. So for me, that was just that line really stood out to me, and I would just like to know, are the department committed to undertaking and publishing a full CREA before final decisions and mitigations are implemented for the upcoming budgets? This should be as standard. This department has a huge remit and a huge depth of responsibility when it comes to child's rights, and I think to say that a budget didn't necessitate an impact assessment, I think is just not strong enough.
Can I come in on that just very quickly? Looking at section 75, age is included within it, which includes children. So I don't understand why we've had that. It may well be that a specific, equality impact assessment on children wasn't done, but surely as part of the age considerations of section 75, it should have been done. We'll
highlight that in the letter and ask the department, are they committed to, when it comes to the full, are members content with that request? Yeah. Okay, thank you, members. So moving on then, members, to items 5.14 to 5.19. And just before I come to members, I'll draw your attention to item 5.15, which is informing us that the Minister has formally agreed the transfer of responsibility for the Government Indemnity Scheme from the Department of Education to Department for Communities. We've been asked to consider this proposal. So do members have any comments, or are you content that transfer would take place? Members content, yeah. I'll also draw attention to item 5.16, which is an offer. Is that within the section we're doing? Yeah. An offer to brief from NICVA on the partnership agreement between government and the community and voluntary sector. I think that's an important and a significant step, and I would certainly be keen, but would members be content that we arrange a briefing?
Yes,
please.
Important issue.
Can we make sure that when NICVA are coming, that they outline the processes of how they think that all departments should be complying with the partnership agreement, because I know we're here with communities, but I have a concern that the department seems to look at it from only the community's perspective, and we don't see how that partnership agreement is rolling out across health, education and so on.
Yep, okay. Members content with that? Yep. Okay, so 5.14. Anything else within 5.14 to 5 point? Who is it?
Kelly.
Kelly, go ahead, please.
Are we up to 5.17? Sorry, Chair.
Yeah, we're at 5.14 to 5.19, so it's in there.
5.17. So the proposals in the green paper, as I was talking about earlier, and this is about the sanctions and getting people into work. I'm really concerned about the Shared Prosperity Fund, and I know that the department talks about that they haven't had any role in the design or delivery of that, but irrespective of the Shared Prosperity Fund, we can't depend on annual handouts by Westminster for items that are of their interest but not necessarily directed specifically towards Northern Ireland's issues. Can we ask the department to clarify what they're going to do, because we're facing 6 months out from another cliff edge, and that relates then to 5.1 or 5.21 as well. Sorry, they're linked together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, members content. Any other queries or remarks in relation to 5.14 to 5.19? Sean?
5.18, please. Just around, there's an awful lot within that. The rehousing after civil unrest, for example, and the musical instruments funding. But we have previously had the Minister in the Chamber talk about ensuring that any funding for arts organisations through public funds need to be respectful and non-offensive, and when it comes to, and the committee will know, others who know me will know that I think this fund, the musical instruments for bands and the funding for instruments, is a fantastic community resource, but my concern is that focus has been on a particular section of the community when talking about offence. And I want to just know, I suppose, what steps the Minister's taken to ensure that that funding is distributed fairly across all musical traditions and none, including those minority cultural groups, newcomer groups who may be working in that space, and how the department is monitoring and safeguarding against disproportionate allocations. And a very quick glance at some of the recipients of that fund last year showed that they were involved in parades of a paramilitary nature and things like that. So I just want to make sure that we are putting a fair and equal playing field for all bands, and if we are looking to actually make sure that public funds are being used in a way that doesn't cause offence, that is safe, that is appropriate, then I think that there needs to be some kind of fairness there. So I just want to understand, when we hear these statements over and over again about disproportionate allocations of public funding towards the arts, that's working in all ways.
I just want to agree with Sean there. I made that point to the Minister when he was briefing the committee that time, and I think it's about how the information is disseminated to the groups as well, that these funds are available, so that all groups know that they are available and that they are eligible to apply for them. So I think we should maybe follow up on that there with the department again.
Brian?
Yeah, Chair, I'm disappointed with the tone there. I mean, and making derogatory comments about marching bands, you know, and saying about paramilitary, you know, I just ask members to be more cautious. I mean, there's a wide range there, as explained in the reply, you know, and it's careless language to start associating them in that manner. So I've just asked members to be more respectful. You know, it is a tradition in which Northern Ireland excels.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, as was shown with the parade on the Saturday night, I, like yourself, Chair, just in a private capacity, I attended the Open, and it was a fantastic event. I had the pleasure of following Rory McIlroy on his round on the Saturday. But I didn't stay because of my travel arrangements for the band parade, but it was all the feedback was that it was greatly appreciated by those tourists who then stayed and enjoyed that parade, and were very impressed just by the quality of marching bands that we have. So just ask members to be more cautious, not to make broad brush derogatory comments.
I'm going to absolutely 100% refute that, and I'm actually quite annoyed, Brian, that you have said I made a brushstroke. No, I did not. I said
well, you can
some.
listen.
No,
Sharon
I'm
is
sorry. No,
speaking.
I let you speak, Brian. Through the chair, I made a comment, and I said that some of those bands. As someone who worked in the music industry with young people, I worked with marching bands in an outreach capacity with young people. I know the value of marching bands, whatever tradition they are, and they are some of the most talented musicians who keep young people off the streets in ways that youth work in traditional aspects do not. I would never tar all marching bands with that. What I said was there are some bands, and a brief cursory glance at some of those who receive public funds have been involved in paramilitary parades. And I took the list, Brian, this is from my own research, I took the list, Googled and YouTube, because I wanted to see the nature of those bands. And you can see whether it's UVF memorial parades, UDA memorial parades, and parades that are glorifying a past that I do not want public funds associated with. Now, that also applies and applies to those bands who are involved in paramilitary parades of a Republican nature. I do not support public funds being used for those. So I am absolutely 100% refute that I am categorising all marching bands, and I am very careful with my language around that. I really am, because I know the depth and breadth of skill and the commitment that goes into marching bands, and I would never tar all bands. So I just want to clarify very clearly, Chair, that was not what I did. I said that we need to make sure that if we are making comments about the appropriate allocation of funds right across the spectrum, then we need to make sure that we are looking at a multicultural basis, and that comes right at the heart of some of the issues that we've had over the last wee while.
And I fully agree that there must be transparency, equity and fairness within any department's allocations in any respect, and I think that is the appropriate work of this committee and the work that we should be facilitated to carry out. So that's where I believe that sits. Okay, members, moving on to items 5.20 to 5.27. I'll ask if members have anything to draw out. I do wish to draw out before I go to members. I'll draw your attention to item 5.27, which is a reply from Solace to a committee request to brief on the anti-poverty strategy. As councils are currently in the process of preparing their responses to the consultation, Solace have suggested that an invitation to attend a future meeting is reconsidered at a later date. Are members content to schedule a briefing for a meeting in October? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And members, staying on this subject, are members content that the committee team pulls together a draft committee response on the anti-poverty strategy to bring back for our review and consideration at a future meeting? Sian?
Yeah, no, I would absolutely think it's really important that we use our platform and I suppose our the scrutiny role in that sense. I think it would be definitely within our remit to do so, and I would like for it to be evidence-based in terms of some of the pieces of research that we have already seen, whether that's the NAC report into child poverty, the NI Audit Office's report, learnings that we should have taken, and what we would have had expected, I suppose, in this strategy. So whether that's around timeframes, targets, budgets, that multidisciplinary approach, that multi-dimensional departmental, that's the word I was looking for, not dimensional, approach. So I think that would be what I would like to see in that, just in terms of taking the learning from previous evidence.
Yeah, and I think it's appropriate members should input to the clerk if there's anything like that they wish to flag. Brian and then Kelly.
5.21, it's already been referred to about the local growth fund replacing the shared prosperity fund, and I am concerned about the lack, with the reply from Dallo, just the lack of input that we have across the executive, that it's very much been retained at Westminster. The Finance Minister has written and is seeking a meeting at the earliest opportunity to discuss the local growth and clarify roles. And locally, I'm sure we will be involved further down the line, but as already been referred, for those groups that now have little more than 6 months of funding left and don't know what the future holds regarding that funding, I just want to express concern, and I suppose all we can do at this stage is write to the Finance Minister or Committee, expressing our concern and just emphasising the urgency and the need to see progress and meaningful local engagement.
Members content with that? Yeah, I think, like, from my perspective, I have to say we were always concerned as a result of Brexit that this would be, and that the funding would never be replaced. And I think that's unfolding in a very damaging way. And it's just, you know, it was almost clear that was going to be the case, and we're now seeing. So it is a huge concern, and I think it is something that we need to absolutely be engaged in very robustly on. Kelly?
It's in the same point, 5.21. We know that it's the Northern Ireland office that's working with the executive on this. As a committee, would it be appropriate for us to write to the Northern Ireland office to ask for a meeting, even if it's chair, if it's yourself in the Northern Ireland office, to discuss their considerations with regards to the fund? Because if the departments and the executive's not getting anywhere, at least we can highlight as a scrutiny committee. It is part of our role, and we would very much welcome even just to learn from them what the considerations are at this point.
Yeah, members are content. I'll ask the clerk to.
Right to the NIOs.
Yeah, members content with that.
As well as the Finance Minister?
I think as well, yeah.
Anybody that will give us the shared prosperity money that's going to work here.
Anybody can make a difference, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so anything else within that section, members, then?
5.22, I may have read this wrong, so I am seeking clarification about the asset transfer of land. It does say that our minister is looking at department's land. Now, is that community's land, or is it all departments' land? Because there's a significant amount of land held in other departments. It's just so we can get clarification. Is that a cross-departmental land register that he's looking at? Because there's certainly areas where we could put houses or get planning permission for houses to help take the pressure off.
Yeah, our members. Yep. So members content then. In that case then I'm going to move on to agenda item 6, which is correspondence. So again, members, this will be arranged in the same way, and you have the table there in your packs. The memo is at page 126, from 126 on. And again, there's a significant number, and I will go through them in blocks using the reference number in the memo. So first of all, could I ask in relation to items 6.2 to 6.7, and before I go to members, I'll just draw attention to item 6.3, which is correspondence in relation to sign language interpreting provision. Are members content to seek agreement from the individual that this correspondence is included as written evidence in relation to the sign language bill?
Yes, please.
Yep, thank you. I'll also draw attention in this block to item 6.4, which is a request from the APG on reducing gambling harm to share a scoping paper on gambling reform provided by the department. Are members content that we contact the department to ask if they are content that the paper is shared with the all-party group? Yep. Yep. Thanks, members. And item 6.7, which is a letter of complaint addressed to the Minister about a rejected benefit claim. Are members content that we ask the department for comment, and that the correspondent is advised that the committee is not enabled or able to get involved in individual cases?
Are we asking the department to comment to us on for that person, or for them to comment back to the person?
What work is ongoing on that issue?
Yeah, what work is ongoing on the issue. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chair, I don't think we should get involved in individual matters. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to get involved in this correspondence backwards and forwards, on it. So, I'd prefer that it just goes into their own appeal process. Otherwise, we could have a flood of people, who haven't got the outcome that they wanted.
So I would propose that the committee write and ask the department they're aware of it and that it's going through that process.
Yes.
Yeah. Members can handle that. Yep. Okay. Clerk, do you have the detail? Yeah.
Yeah.
And members agree. Thank you. So members then, any comment otherwise on items 6.2 to 6.7? Go ahead, Brian.
6.5, Diane Forsyth MLA, her private members bill on women and girls in sport. So, and the consultation on that. do we have a standard approach on private members' bills, consultations? And I'm aware there's quite a few in the system, and the speaker's already said not all will be able to progress. And so I'm just, given that this request has came in, I know some others have came to our attention as well. Do we have an approach on these? Should we invite Diane in to make a presentation, or what has been the pattern in the past?
Well, I'll come to the clerk for some detail on that, but I want to just express the interest that I am also working on a private members bill that will be will come through this committee. So just to make that clear, and Sean is making that similar. So I'll check with the clerk then.
Yeah. So far, each member has notified the committee that they're going to do the consultation, and to date, the committee has agreed that the member be invited back once their consultation has closed and to discuss what it has brought.
Rather than do a committee response to the consultation?
Yes.
Okay.
Wouldn't really be appropriate, because that's what the bill process is for. We'll have a committee stage when we'll get to do that.
Come in for full committee here to be taken through this.
If the bill passes second stage, it'll then be referred to the committee in due course.
Fine. So we don't need to respond at this case, unless people want to respond individually.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Anything else, members? 6.2 to 6.7? No. Thank you. Members, then moving on for comment on items 6.8 to 6.13. And I would like to draw attention to 6.11, which I referred to earlier, and is a request from co-design group's request to brief on the Irish language strategy. So that is, and I will come back as a promise to Melissa on this. This is beset by delays, and I would be very keen, and I think it's a very important issue that we get to the bottom of it. I would be keen that, or I would ask members if we're content we accept the request to get a briefing, but I also think we should look at getting the department to come in to brief as well. Immediately following that, so we can get an idea of how we can unlock or progress this. So, Melissa, I'll say to come back to you at this point.
Yes, I'd welcome that invite to have a presentation to the committee from the Irish Language Group. And in addition, I'd also welcome the opportunity to have that meeting with the Minister, because the book has to stop. Instead of, as I say, this ping-pong sort of situation that exists at the present time, where, if anything, it is seen to be at best a delaying tactic in terms of introducing sort of the Irish language strategy bill.
Thank you, Kelly.
Sorry, no, different point, Chair. It's on 6.9. In the correspondence, it talks about GB will take forward the bill, the fraud, Public Authorities Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill, and it indicates that we will follow suit thereafter. There may be a period of time there where we're not in parity with GB. It would be interesting to know what the consequences are. So it's just, it may only be for a short period of time, but there could be a time when we break parity there until our legislation is brought forward. It's just, what is the department doing to prepare if there is a period of time when we're not aligned? And how can we protect people, because the sanctions part is in this, and I just don't want our people here being open to more severe sanctions or issues if it's been resolved for GB, because they've passed the legislation first and we just haven't followed suit yet.
Yep. Members content, we seek that. So I have just Melissa again, sorry, go ahead.
6.13, the dilapidation bill. And in this case, it's like a transfer of powers, we'll say, like onto the council itself, and that at the same time it would cause concern, especially given the financial situation of many councils here in the north of Ireland at present, that if this bill is transferred, it also needs to be done at a zero cost basis, and that whilst there is an opportunity for council to have costs reimbursed from those people that they would actually address in relation to the dilapidation bill itself, or in relation to properties and so on, but at the same time it will carry a cost to council, and I think that in transferring that they should also ensure that it's at cost zero.
Well, in light of that, Marisa, and I think that's a very genuine concern, in light of that, would members agree maybe that we ask the department in the first instance how it considers it will be affected by the bill, given its remits in housing and built heritage? Members be content with that? Yep, thank you. Brian?
Thank you, Chair. 6.9, just not fraud and error recovery bill. At Westminster, the last time their departmental officials are able to attend committee regarding any issues raised in this briefing. So I'm not clear from the letter what the timescale would be for any legislation coming through at the Assembly. So we'll maybe keep just that on hold and see how the matter progresses. But if it goes through in due course at Westminster, I'm not sure whether the equivalent legislation would be in this mandate or not. But anyway, just to say we'll keep that request or that offer on hold.
And we have that action suggested by Kelly and agreed by members that we write in relation to the parity.
So we're going to ask the question but not seek a briefing, or do you want to also seek an update from the an oral briefing in relation to it? I think
Brian's suggesting we wait till there's more information,
okay,
and then come back to a briefing potentially. Is that?
Yeah, I think just with the amount of stuff we're dealing with, and it's still some distance to go at Westminster. So,
okay.
The other one, just to comment on the dilapidation bill, we are going to get a briefing on that in RB. Certainly, I think it's very relevant to housing. I'm constantly flagging up about particularly privately owned long-term derelict housing, which causes blight in areas, and I'm told that this would be relevant to the dilapidation bill, and you just get, for whatever reason, maybe a house has been inherited or whatever, and the family are living elsewhere, and the property's just 10, 20 years, you end up just lying and causing misery to neighbours. But it's no statutory body's authority as long as it's not obstructing footpaths and that sort of thing. But it's an issue that needs addressed, and I'm hoping that the dilapidation bill will provide a new focus on it.
Yeah. Could I suggest that we come back, we revisit the issue a bit of briefing, depending on the answer we get from the department in relation to how they assess the impact it will have on them?
Mm-hmm.
So the bill itself, this bill, will go to the ERA committee, the Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs committee, rather than this committee.
Yeah, well, I know it's dear Minister.
We wouldn't be having ERA officials to this committee to talk about the bill. So any concerns of the members of this committee should be reflected in the response this committee will send to the ERA committee in relation to their consideration of the bill.
And we're not drafting that response till we hear back from the department.
Okay, it'll come back to us anyway.
It'll come back to the committee for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly, go ahead.
614, Colin Boyle.
Just let me see if I'm about to come on just to that, and I'll come back to you. So we're going to deal with items 6.14 to 6.19. So go ahead, Kelly.
Apologies, Chair, I thought we were already on that number. No, it's just Colin Boyle. How very dare he retire? I think that maybe we should, if he's back here, I'm sure he will be between now and the end of the year, but maybe a letter in response just to Colin, just to thank him, because I know during the period when we weren't sitting, he held a number of really, really important and useful information sessions for MLAs, and made sure that we were all on top of what was happening. So, as a permanent secretary goes, he's definitely not the worst. And if he does hear this, thanks very much, Colin. But
he is indeed, Kelly. Definitely not the worst. He'd probably put that on the wall.
Yeah. So the only other one I have then, Chair, is 6.18.
Before you go to that, Kelly, I had a number of issues I want to flag on that. So can I go through those, and then if there's anything outstanding, maybe. But so just to draw the members' attention, it's a letter from an individual expressing concerns around the MA sign language course at QUB. And I had thought that some of the more appropriate things that we need to do is seek permission from the individual that the correspondence is included as written evidence for the sign language bill report. Are members content with that?
Yes, please.
Seek permission from the individual to forward a copy of the correspondence to the Committee for the Economy, which is remit over the FEs, if members are content. And to consider if members wish to invite the individual to give oral evidence. So I'll just go to Kelly at that point, and then members can consider that final one.
No, I agree with that. One of the issues that is coming out from my meetings with the deaf community is the understanding of what content of courses will be, for instance, for interpreters or teachers. And I think this is the Masters is maybe one of those courses that really should have had a little bit more input. I don't know. I declare an interest that I know the person who's written this in. I'm not 100% certain if they will want to give a presentation on it. Just being on the course and giving evidence against it's quite difficult. But the points, although this is written to us from one person, it has come up before. So it is something I think we do need to include in the sign language bill considerations. Yeah.
Yep. Members content with that? Okay. Clear enough, Claire?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, members, thank you for that. Any other comments in relation to 6.14 to 6.19? No, members content then. I'm going to move on then to comments on items 6.20 to 6.28. So can I ask if members have any comments there? And then I'll be going to table papers for, there's some other correspondence there. Anything there within those?
No.
No. Okay, members content as suggested in the memo. So then, members, moving on to further items of correspondence and table papers, there are press releases at 6.29 to 6.36. Do members have any comments on those or content to note?
Content to note.
At 6.37, there's a letter from Daniel McCrossan thanking fellow members and staff as he moves to another committee. Are members content to note?
Yes.
And we've already sent our best wishes to Daniel. So we're moving then, members, from correspondence to agenda item 7, and this is into the first of a number of SL1s and SRs. So the first one is SL1, the Social Security Miscellaneous Amendments number 2, Regulations NI 2025. The proposed rule will allow changes to provide a legal basis for the continued payment of benefits, disability and carer benefits, for a small cohort of claimants not explicitly covered by the EU withdrawal agreement. So after the pack issued, members, the committee team received an updated version of the proposal at page 18 of your table papers. The department previously advised that the original SL1 stated that the GB statutory instrument, which makes corresponding provision, was expected to be made in early October, coming into force on 31st of October 2025. However, DWP has now confirmed that the statutory instrument, which makes corresponding provision, is expected to be made in November, meaning that it will come into force on the 10th of December 2025 instead of October. DWP have also advised that it has revised the title of the statutory instrument. Accordingly, the title of the NI rule has been updated to correspond to the revised title of the corresponding draft that exists for the statutory instrument. The updated version of the SL1, which reflects the change in title and the expected making or coming into operation dates. There's no other change to the content of the SL1. So do members have any comments, or are they content for the department to proceed to make that rule? Members content. Thank you. Agenda item 8, SL1, the Housing Benefit Habitual Residence Amendment Regulations 2025. And there's a copy of that SL1 at page 657 of your pack. The proposed rule would allow individuals claiming housing benefit to be treated as satisfying the habitual residence test where they are already receiving universal credit. Do members have any comments, or are they content for the department to proceed to make the rule?
Yeah.
Content? Thank you, members.
Officials on this
I may take a wee. Yeah, okay. And we can bring them in once we start, yeah?
Yeah.
So we're moving then to agenda item 9, members, which is SL1, the Social Fund Winter Fuel Payment Regulations. So a copy of that SL1 is at page 663. On the 9th of June, for information, members, Treasury announced that the winter fuel payment was being reinstated for all pensioners from winter 2025-26. The funding accompanying this policy change extends here. A statutory rule has been made to implement these winter fuel payment changes, which we will consider at next week's meeting. The legislation implements the policy decision to change the entitlement conditions for payments of a winter fuel payment. The Department has decided, in line with the Department for Work and Pensions, to remake the regulations rather than amend them, as that is the clearest way to make the necessary changes to the legislation. We do have officials with us today to brief us on the proposal, and I now welcome Hayley and Nicola to the table. And so we have Hayley Ward, who is policy lead on winter fuel payment, and Nicola Boyle, who is deputy policy on winter fuel payment. So Hayley, I think it's yourself, is it, that please go ahead and brief on the proposal, and then we'll take members from questions as they arise. Thank you.
Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the new winter fuel payment regulations. These regulations will redefine eligibility for pensioners and restore the winter fuel payment as a universal benefit for those who have reached state pension age by the end of the qualifying week. That is, the week beginning on the third Monday in September each year. The winter fuel payment depends on age and household circumstances. For households where the oldest person is under 80, the payment will be £200. Where the oldest person is aged 80 or over, the payment will be £300. Payments will begin in November 2025, ensuring that eligible pensioners receive support ahead of the coldest months. From winter 25-26, all pensioners in Northern Ireland who meet this age requirement will receive the payment. However, while pensioners with an annual income over £35,000 or more will receive the payment initially, HMRC will automatically recover it through the tax system. The regulations revoke and replace the Social Fund Winter Fuel Payment Regulations Northern Ireland 2024 and the Social Fund Winter Fuel Payments Amendment Regulations Northern Ireland 2024. The regulations align Northern Ireland with England and Wales, maintaining the long-standing principle of parity in social fund. Parity of timings and substance is an integral part of the maintenance of a single system of social security, child support and pensions, provided for in Section 87 of the Northern Ireland Act 1998. The new rules will come into operation on the 15th of September 25 and the same date as in England and Wales. From winter 25-26, winter fuel payment will no longer be payable to individuals living in the European Economic Area or Switzerland. The Department has chosen to remake the regulations rather than amend them, as this is the clearest way to implement these changes. There are no significant financial implications for the Northern Ireland Block Grant. Payments will be funded through annually managed expenditure from HM Treasury, and HMRC will handle recovery for those above the £35,000 income threshold. Based on NISRA projections, around 336,600 pensioners in Northern Ireland will receive the payment in 25-26. Of these, approximately 48,000, around 14%, will have their payment recovered. This compares favourably with England and Wales, where about 20% of pensioners will be affected. The Department has carried out a Section 75 screening exercise, which has been published and is available on the Department's website. No significant equality or regulatory impacts have been identified. Finally, the statutory rule complies with the 21-day rule and has been laid before the Assembly alongside an explanatory memorandum. I am happy to take any of your questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and it's very welcome that this has been restored. I have to say, I think it was universally, maybe for once, recognised that this was a disgraceful attack on some of the most vulnerable people and people who have obviously contributed for a lifetime and then find this taken away at the very start of Labour government. So I'm delighted to see that. I suppose one of the questions will be around timing of payment, but so we understand because of the action the Minister took to try to reinstate as much as he could, there was a delay. That payment didn't come to March. Are you confident that there'll be no delay in terms of the issuing of these payments, that they'll come in the winter period when people need them?
Yeah, yes, we are confident. The payments are due to start in November 25, so they should arrive with the pensioners before the coldest months.
Okay, and did you say in the course of your briefing that the payments will no longer be made to people who are resident in the European Union or Switzerland? Would that include? So what are the impact here in terms of how many people on the island of Ireland, and I'm thinking in particular in border communities, might that impact?
No, I wouldn't have that with me, sorry. I can certainly come back to you on that.
Could you get us those as a matter of urgency, please? Because I think we need to recognise what the potential impact, because those people have equally contributed for a lifetime, and I think this is one of the things where maybe something that doesn't have the same impact across the water, kind of are very real. So if you could get me those numbers, please, I'd be very keen to get those. Yeah, thank you. So Brian.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Just two questions. State pension age, in practice, what does that mean now? Is that everyone over, is it 67 now or 66? And obviously it's changed, and it changed for women, but is that now, is everybody, was that more than 5 years ago? So is it everyone who's over 66 or 67 now?
So for this payment, it's for those over 66.
Right.
Yeah, so the state age pension is due to change, is it next year?
Yeah.
But for this winter, it's for those over 66.
Right, aye. And obviously it's written in a way that if the pension age changes, it'll
Yeah, well, the regs next year will be
but
changed.
effectively
at the
it's people
state
over
age.
66
Yeah.
currently. Right. And secondly, in terms of those who will have the payment recovered, does the £35,000 include the state pension?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
so-
total income.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you very much for that. It's fairly straightforward, and we're glad to see it coming back again. Sadly, there are a lot of pensioners, and I may look to that in my future, that do have to do tax returns, so it'll be easy enough for HMRC to sort that out. But what happens if somebody doesn't want to take the payment? Is there a way to not get it? I know it's automatically going to be paid to all pensioners, but is there any way that somebody can opt out?
There is an opt-out, but the opt-out's only available until the qualifying week. So it's only available until the 15th of September. NI Direct has a link through to the webpage in order to opt out. So it is available there online.
Are we doing anything to let older people know about that through Age NI or any of our partners?
All of the documentation at the moment states that unless you opt out,
Yeah.
and
It's just letting people know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm on NI Direct, to be honest, on a regular basis,
I
as you
know,
can imagine.
I know, I can understand.
But I'm not a pensioner, so I wouldn't think about doing that. But I'm just wondering if we could perhaps let
kind of-
the older people's groups and the older persons commissioner, for instance, know, just so that.
Yeah, we'll
that
certainly look
option's
into what communications are out there at the moment and try and figure that out.
Yeah.
To share on the back of that, I think because there were quite a few, the narrative of people saying, well, I actually don't need it, so I'm fine with it being cancelled. So I think that there are quite a few people who either donate it to charity or who would like for it not to be given to them in the first place. I didn't realise that there was an opt-out, and I definitely didn't realise that there was a time frame that you could do that. So I think communications around that would be really useful.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions or comments, members? Okay, so thank you for that. We appreciate you coming and giving that information. I think it's an important and a welcome step to see this, and we certainly don't want to see any undue delays. So can I ask then, if members no further comments, are they content for the department to proceed to make the rule?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hayley. Thanks, Nicola.
Thank you.
Okay. Members, agenda item 10, SR 2025/122. The Social Security Income and Capital Disregards Amendment Number 2, Regulations 2025 on page 674. Members, we considered the SL1 for this rule at our meeting on the 29th of May 2025 when we were content for the department to make the rule. Have members any objection to the rule? No. So then can I ask formally that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2025/122, the Social Security Income and Capital Disregards Amendment Number 2 Regulations NI 2025, and there's no objection to the rule subject to the report from the Examiner of Statutory Rules. Members content? Agreed? Thank you.
Could I ask if we could ask the department for a list of all the disregards now? Because I know we've asked for other things, like for instance the mother and baby homes and things like that, but it's just formally, once this is going through, what are the total list of disregards?
Yeah, and I think we've previously written and asked the department, is there any plan to bring a process in place that is not every case by case where these disregards have to be fought by the victims once again. So I think we have a piece of correspondence way out on that.
Okay. I'll check that.
If there was a system in place whereby that was a part of the process where they are included for disregard front, I think it would be, and including the cross-border issues that we experience. Moving on to agenda item 11, which is SR 2025/124, the Houses in Multiple Occupation Fees Amendment Regulations 2025, and they're at page 682. Members, we considered the SL1 for this rule at our meeting on the 26th of June 2025, when we were content for the Department to make the rule. Have members any objection to the rule?
No.
No? Therefore, can I ask members that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2025/124, the Houses in Multiple Occupation Fees Amendment Regulations NA 2025, and has no objection to the rule, subject to the report from the Examiner of Statutory Rules. Are members agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 12, SR 2025/127, the Social Security Claims and Payments Amendment Regulations NI 2025, and these are contained at page 701. We considered the SL1 for this rule, members, at our meeting on the 3rd of July 2025, when we were content for the Department to make the rule. Have members any objection to the rule?
No.
Therefore, can I ask members that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2025/127, the Social Security Claims and Payments Amendment Regulations NA 2025, and has no objection to the rule, subject to the report from the Examiner of Statutory Rules. Are members agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you, members. Agenda item 13, SR 2025/129, the Social Security Electronic Communications Amendment Order NI 2025, at page 712. We considered the SL1 for this rule at our meeting on the 3rd of July 2025, when we were content for the Department to make the rule. Do members have any objection to the rule? Can I therefore ask that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2025/129, the Social Security Electronic Communications Amendment Order NI 2025, and has no objection to the rule, subject to the report from the Examiner of Statutory Rules? Are members agreed? Thank you. And thank you, members. And lastly then, in terms of delegated legislation for today's meeting, agenda item 14, which is SR 2025/136, the Social Security Habitual Residence Past, Presence and Temporary Absence Amendment Regulations NI 2025, on page 723. So, members, we considered the SL1 for this rule at our meeting on the 3rd of July 2025, when we were content for the Department to make the rule. Do members have any objection to the rule? No? Thank you. Therefore, can I ask formally that the Committee for Communities has considered SR 2025/136, the Social Security Habitual Residence Past, Presence and Temporary Absence Amendment Regulations NI 2025, and has no objection to the rule, subject to the report from the Examiner of Statutory Rules. Are members agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you, members. Okay, members, moving on then to agenda item 15, which is Local Government Staff Commission Retention and Disposal Schedule. A copy of the schedule is contained at page 750. Do members have any comments on the schedule, or are you content to approve?
Yeah.
Content. Thank you, members. Agenda item 16, members, Forward Work Programme, a copy of which is contained at page 775. Can I ask members to note a couple of additions since the Forward Work Programme was circulated? Firstly, that there will be an informal information session from DFC officials at lunchtime next Tuesday on the forthcoming, that's the 16th, on the forthcoming pension schemes bill. Can I ask all members, please make yourselves available for that if at all possible. Those are actually very useful in that informal setting.
So what time's that, Chair?
That's at 12:30.
12:30.
12:30. The committee team members separately are also working towards organising 2 events in relation to the sign language bill. The events will mark the end of the evidence gathering before we go into deliberations after the October recess. Based on the analysis of evidence received to date, an informal engagement session with young people and the deaf-blind community may be useful to further inform committee's deliberations. It is suggested that an event for children on the 16th of October from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m, directly after our usual meeting in room 135, and an event for the deaf-blind community to take place on the 23rd of October from 4:30 to 6 in room 115 with Deaf, Blind and Sense. Are members content the committee team progress the organisation of these events?
Agreed.
Agreed, thank you. Members, you'll see from the forward work programme there are a number of requests to brief that have yet to be actioned. You will be aware that things are going to get a lot busier for us with the sign language bill still at committee stage and other primary legislation to come this way. Could I therefore propose actually that if there are outstanding requests that or new ones indeed coming in that members are particularly keen to facilitate, where it's appropriate, if members could identify those particular areas of interest and the member arrange a Zoom meeting or in-person meeting indeed with that particular group, inviting other members to attend, and then a report from that meeting is then brought back to committee for consideration and action. I first experienced this in my role within the Health Committee and found it a great way to, where there are particular issues that members have expertise on or wish to be brought to committee's members, and where pressure doesn't allow full briefings, that is a useful format. Would members be content to look at that and take a look at the list, or indeed consider in the future where that may be a useful way to get information into the committee?
Mm-hmm. Sure, there may be a few there, like for instance there's one there on the future gambling bill, the scoping exercise. Would that be with the department? Only
words, yes, any that need to be formally, like I'm not saying that ones that need to come in formally don't come in formally. I'm thinking more of a case where we can get extra value or extra time, and I recognise, members, that we're all under huge pressure in terms of the committee work and also in terms of all our, and none of this is easy or will be easy in the time going ahead. But I think that's a way where members of particular interest, or I think that there's particular issues that members will benefit from finding out more about.
Yeah.
That's a way to maybe facilitate that. Okay. So just ask members to think about that, and we can discuss it further at our planning session as to how that might work or how it has been working. So content to look at that for now and keep that under as an option. Do members have any other comments in relation to the forward work programme? No? Okay then, so so moving on, which would be agenda item 17 I think, is any other business. Do members have any other business they wish to raise? No, thank you. Moving on to agenda item 18 then, which is date, time and location of our next meeting. Our next meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday 18th of September 2025 here in room 29. Thank you, members, and the meeting is now adjourned. And we'll ask to take out of broadcasting. There'll be a slight delay on it.